Last time around, we explained why Jerusalem qualifies as Mystery Babylon at the end of days, and we left it off with one very important question. Jerusalem is prophesied to be a blessed place where YASHUA will reign for 1,000 years. Babylon, on the other hand, is prophesied to be a desolation from generation to generation, and it's written that no one will live there. So how can Jerusalem be Babylon? The answer to this question is actually quite simple. At the end of days, Jerusalem, as we know it, is going to be destroyed and removed, and New Jerusalem is going to come down in its place. In this episode, we will show you where all of this is outlined in the scriptures. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that the information we're about to share is earth-shaking. If you've studied a little history, you know that Jerusalem has been burned and destroyed a few times already, but our Father speaks about a future destruction that is yet to come. In Isaiah 29, he says that a multitude of nations will fight against Jerusalem, and in that time, all who look to do evil will be cut off. That is a description of the end of days. Also in that time, here is what our Father says about Jerusalem.
Woe to Ariel, the city where David dwelt. I will camp against thee round about, and will lay siege against thee with a mount, and I will raise forts against thee, and thou shalt be brought down, and shalt speak out of the ground, and thy speech shall be low out of the dust, and thy voice shall be, as of one that hath a familiar spirit, out of the ground, and thy speech shall whisper out of the dust. Thou shalt be visited of the Lord of hosts with thunder, and with earthquake, and great noise, with storm and tempest, and the flame of devouring fire.
The prophet Zephaniah also speaks about Jerusalem being devoured in the day of the Lord. Here's what it says in that book.
And it shall come to pass at that time that I will search Jerusalem with candles, and punish the men that are settled on their lees, that say in their heart, The Lord will not do good, neither will he do evil. The great day of the Lord is near. It is near, and hasteth greatly. Neither their silver nor their gold shall be able to deliver them in the day of the Lord's wrath, but the whole land shall be devoured by the fire of his jealousy. For he shall make even a speedy riddance of all them that dwell in the land.
We see from those scriptures that Jerusalem is destined to be laid low to the dust of the earth, and that it will be destroyed by fire. In case you missed it, there was even a mention of the city being visited by earthquake. And if there is one sign of the day of the Lord, it is earthquakes. You've probably heard or read that at the final battle, Yehovah's feet are going to stand on the Mount of Olives, and the mount will split in two, forming a great valley. We read that in Zechariah 14:4. But Zechariah also says that in the day of the Lord, the whole land from Geba to Rimmon will turn into a plain, and Jerusalem will rise up. The distance from Geba to Rimmon is approximately the length of the Dead Sea from north to south. So that's around 50 miles of land that Father is going to flatten before he raises a mountain up in the middle of it. And this mountain, Mount Zion, is prophesied to become the highest of all mountains. The book of Revelation also speaks about a great earthquake as part of Father's final wrath. Now, before we continue, if you're his, you don't need to worry about all of these earth-shaking events. The prophet Joel said, "Heaven and earth will tremble, but the Lord will be a refuge for his people." So, if you're his, he has promised to guard you through what's coming. But if you're not his, you are going to experience what Revelation describes as the greatest earthquake that has ever happened since Father made mankind. Revelation says this massive quake is going to split the city of Jerusalem into 3 parts, and it will cause all the cities of the whole world to fall. As more indication of earth-shaking events at the day of the Lord, there are several scriptures that say that when YASHUA returns, the mountains are going to be laid low, and they will literally melt. Here are a few examples of that from Isaiah, Psalms, Nahum, Micah, and Habakkuk.
Every valley shall be exalted, and every mountain and hill shall be made low. The day of the Lord of hosts shall be upon every one that is proud and lofty, and upon all the high mountains, and upon all the hills that are lifted up. The hills melted like wax at the presence of the Lord. The mountains quake at him, and the hills melt. And the mountains shall be molten under him, and the valleys shall be cleft as wax before the fire. He beheld and drove asunder the nations, and the everlasting mountains were scattered. The perpetual hills did bow.
All of those verses that we just heard are describing a massive amount of land movement and a lot of earth-shaking events. The logical conclusion is that by the time all of this shaking is done, Jerusalem, as we know it, is going to be a heap of ruins. And that is exactly what the Bible teaches. In episode 2, we talked about how Isaiah says that after the day of vengeance, we are going to build up the ancient ruins and repair the ruined cities. And it talks about how at the return of the Lord to Zion, the ruins of Jerusalem are going to break forth into singing. So Jerusalem is going to be in ruins at his return. And Jeremiah gives us a clue as to what is going to happen to those ruins. He says that Jerusalem shall not be plucked up nor thrown down any more forever. Since Jeremiah is saying that Jerusalem won't be plucked up and thrown down anymore, what that means is that at some point in time, Father's going to pluck it up and throw it down. As we explained last time around, Jerusalem qualifies as Mystery Babylon. So it's no surprise that we see a similar prophecy about Babylon being thrown down. Father says in Jeremiah 51, I will stretch out mine hand upon thee, and roll thee down from the rocks, and will make thee a burnt mountain. Literally, a mountain of burning. If we take everything that we just read and heard and put it all together, this is the series of events that we can expect. At the end of days, Father is going to send a devouring fire to the city of Jerusalem, and then megaquakes are going to flatten the land, and then he is going to raise up Mount Zion taller than all the mountains, and then the ruins of Mystery Babylon Jerusalem are going to be plucked up, thrown down, and rolled down from Mount Zion, and those ruins are going to be burning. We think that those burning ruins are going to end up being the same location as the lake of fire. Isaiah prophesied that everyone who goes to worship God in Millennium is going to see the corpses of those who rebelled against him, and it's going to be a loathsome sight and an unquenchable fire. This is very similar to what Revelation says. It says the lake of fire is going to be filled with those who worshipped the beast and those who took his mark, and that their smoke will go up forever. So basically, the lake of fire is the new forever home of Mystery Babylon. If the burning ruins of Mystery Babylon are thrown into the lake of fire as well, it wouldn't be much of a surprise, and it would fulfill the prophecy of Babylon becoming a desolation where no one lives. If you think that any of the judgment that's coming on Jerusalem is too harsh to be true, just remember that by the time YASHUA returns, the city is going to be in full harlot mode, and they will literally be partying over the death of Father's prophets, and they'll be worshiping the devil there. Also remember that the Jerusalem that is here now is not the city that we've all been waiting for, and it's not the city that our fathers waited for. Hebrews tells us that Abraham looked for a city whose builder and maker is God. He looked for a heavenly country. Paul says that it's the Jerusalem above that is mother of us all, and it's written that Jerusalem from above will descend. Some people think New Jerusalem is going to come down from heaven at the end of Millennium, but the scriptures teach otherwise. Revelation 19 says that after the fall of Babylon, there is rejoicing in heaven because the marriage of the Lamb has come and his bride has made herself ready. The parable of the 10 virgins also teaches that the marriage feast is when the bridegroom comes. So who is the bride? She is dressed in white, which is the righteous deeds of the saints. But the bride herself is New Jerusalem. In Revelation 21, the angel tells John, "Come, I will show you the bride, the wife of the Lamb." And John says, "I saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride, adorned for her husband." In that same chapter, Father gives John the timing for when this happens. It's going to take place when the dwelling place of God will be with man. In other words, it will happen when YASHUA returns. It was when YASHUA showed this vision of New Jerusalem to John that he said, "Behold, I am making all things new." Those words point us back to Isaiah 65, when he said, "Behold, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former things shall not be remembered or come into mind, but be glad and rejoice forever in that which I create. For behold, I create Jerusalem to be a joy." Also in Isaiah, it says this about Zion, "Your land shall be married. As the bridegroom rejoices over the bride, so shall your God rejoice over you." So the wedding takes place at the beginning of Millennium, when the bridegroom, YASHUA, arrives. At the end of Millennium, there will be new creation as well. But first, there is New Jerusalem. One key feature of New Jerusalem is that, according to Revelation, there is no temple in the city. And this is a perfect match for what Ezekiel sees about Millennium. Ezekiel talks about the days to come when the land is allotted to the 12 tribes of Israel, and all those who sojourn with Israel will join a tribe. And he says that we're going to build an entire holy district for the Lord. Within that holy district, there is going to be a temple. But outside of that temple, about a mile to the south, there's going to be a city with 12 gates. And Ezekiel tells us that the Lord will be there in that city. We've pieced all of this together using a lot of different scriptures from many books of the Old Testament and the New Testament. But the entire story is actually laid out for us in a very simple, single source as well. Before I read that source to you, let me say that in the same way that a lot of well-meaning Bible teachers have passed down false teachings about who Israel is, they've also spread a lot of false teachings about the prophet Enoch and the book of Enoch. Father gave Enoch a vision, and he had him write it down for a remote generation who would live to see the end of days. That's us. Enoch wrote that at the end of days, the Lord of the sheep is going to come, and he will strike the earth with the staff of his wrath, and the earth is going to split as a result. This is YASHUA, our good shepherd, the Lord of the sheep, coming and splitting the Mount of Olives, just like we read about in Zechariah. After the earth splits, Enoch saw the throne of the Lord of the sheep being set up in the land. We believe that's a description of when the land from Geba to Rimmon is turned into a plain, and Mount Zion, the place of Yeshua's throne here on earth, is raised up above all of the mountains. After the throne is raised up, Enoch saw the judgment being held by the Lord of the sheep. Now this is just like what Yeshua told us. When he comes, he's going to separate the sheep from the goats. The Lord of the sheep is going to hold judgment when he gets here. After the judgment, Enoch saw the old house, which is Jerusalem, and he saw it folded up and placed in the south of the land. We believe what Enoch is talking about here is the ruins of the modern-day city of Jerusalem being removed from Father's holy mountain. What Enoch saw next is that after the old house was removed, he saw the Lord of the sheep bringing a new house, greater and bigger than the old one. And he saw him set it up in the same place as the first house. So, on the same coordinates where Father has always chosen to put his name, he is going to cause New Jerusalem to descend on his newly raised throne, Mount Zion. Since we're talking about Enoch, and this is the Gog-Magog series, we believe that there may be a reference to the Gog-Magog war in the book of Enoch as well. We'll talk about that next time.
I was glad when they said unto me, Let us go into the house of the Lord. Our feet shall stand within thy gates, O Jerusalem. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. They shall prosper that love thee. Peace be within thy walls, and prosperity within thy palaces. For my brethren and companions' sakes, I will now say, Peace be within thee. Because of the house of the Lord our God, I will seek thy good.